Hi folks, welcome back to Meaningful Money. Little bit of a change of scene, away from the cliffs and the seaside, and on a sort of random country bridleway thing, just for a bit of a change of scene. I'm going to talk now, just for the next couple of videos, this one and the next one, about the two main types of company pension scheme. Actually, there'll be a third one after that. So the next three videos, it's like the Spanish Inquisition, our next three videos are about company pensions. This one is about defined benefit pension schemes, more commonly known as final salary schemes. Now these are important, although they're a dying breed, because they are unique. Now these really are blue chip, best of breed. If you've got one of these, you are very lucky and you should hold tight to it, if at all possible. And the reason for that is simple. With all the other types of pension we've talked about, and the ones which I'll talk about in the next two videos as well, what you get in retirement, the money and the income and the cash you get when you come to take your benefits out of the pension, are all dependent on how much you've put in and how well the investments have done over time. But with defined benefit pensions, that's not the case at all. The clue is in the name. With defined benefit pensions, what you get out at the other end when you retire is defined from outset. And it's defined using three variables. Okay? Firstly, the accrual rate of the scheme. That's usually expressed as a fraction, i.e. 1/60th. Now what that means is, for every year of service that you put in with your company pension scheme, you get 1/60th of the second variable, which is your final salary. Final salary can be defined in quite a few ways. I'll come back to that in a minute. But that's the second variable. Firstly is the accrual rate, usually expressed as a fraction, say 60ths, the final salary, and then the length of service you've put in. Three variables. That sum, the way that's calculated, is set at outset. How much you put in is largely irrelevant. There are even some schemes which are non-contributory. You don't pay anything to them at all, although they are very rare. So what is happening is the company, because remember this is a company pension scheme, is taking all the risk. They're saying at outset, we're going to pay you this much. If you stay with us 40 years, we're going to pay you X amount of pounds per year from your retirement, and we're going to make sure we've got enough money to do that. So they're taking all the risk, and you, the member, are taking no risk at all. So let's give you an example. Firstly, actually, just to say that there is a maximum benefit you can get out of these schemes, which is 2/3 of your final salary. Here's an example. Let's say I'm working for a company and I've worked for them for 40 years. Let's say my salary is £30,000. And let's say the accrual rate is a 60th scheme. Now what that means is I get 40 years, 60ths of my final salary, £30,000, as a pension. 40 60ths, if you remember back to your primary school maths, is the same as 2/3. So I get 2/3 of my final salary as a pension. If my final salary is 30,000, 2/3 of that is 20,000, and that's my pension. It's a simple sum really. Length of service divided by the accrual rate multiplied by your final salary. Bob's your uncle. I nearly said something else then, glad I didn't. So it's quite a simple sum really. A couple of things though. Firstly, the definition of final salary can be different, or is certainly different across different schemes. It may not be your final year's salary. It may be the average of your last 5 years of service. It may be, if you're in an occupation where you have a salary and a bonus or commission or overtime or something like that, it may be that your final salary is just the fixed bit and not the extras on top. It may be there's even moves towards sort of average lifetime earnings. So as long as you've been with the company, it's your average earnings over that period which count as your final salary. So while the definition of final salary can change, the sum is essentially the same. Some schemes work on an 80ths basis, so you get 1/80th of your final salary for every year that you've worked. Some are even less, 1/30th is very rare, usually only for chief execs of banks and stuff, or 1/45th, 1/60th is the most common. Now you can, when you get to retirement, what we call commute part of your pension for a lump sum of cash. I'm not going to go into the calculation of that, it doesn't really matter. You would get a slightly reduced pension, but you would get a cash lump sum as well. So it's defined benefit. Now you can understand, these are really valuable because there's no risk to you, the member. All the risk is being taken on by the sponsoring employer. And, you know, it's a good deal. That's why they're so sought after. You tend to get these in the public sector, civil service, you know, teachers, nurses, doctors, firemen, policemen, things like that. But increasingly, because these schemes are so risky for the employer, they're being withdrawn. The last 10 years or so of volatile stock markets have left many of these schemes what we call underfunded, which means there's simply not enough money in the pot to honour all these promises of, you know, quite lucrative retirements for all their members. And so the only answer to that is the companies have got to pump more money in. And, you know, we've just come out of the teeth of a recession. That's difficult for many companies. So they're fantastic schemes if you can get them. If you're in one, stay in one. And there's a car pulling up, that probably means I'm trespassing. But that's how they work. Fantastic. Next time we're moving on to defined contribution schemes, which are the alternative to these ones, defined benefits. So thanks for watching, stay tuned and see you next time.